Hey folks, welcome back. Today I wanted to share with you how I make a forager's pesto. And this video isn't just about making something tasty, it's about empowering you to see the value in learning to forage wild edible greens and show you just one way of preserving the nutritional value of those greens long after the plants are out of season. Pesto to me is a staple food for those who love food as medicine, for homesteaders and permaculture enthusiasts. So let's talk about why. So we have had a bit of a drought this spring, and it's been very hard on the garden. A little bit of rain last weekend was definitely a blessing, but not enough to save some of our plants from the extreme temperature swings. No joke, we went from a late season frost on the last few days of May to sweltering 90-degree weather and weeks of no rain. And this does not work for our cool season crops like broccoli, lettuces, Chinese cabbage, and our poor spinach, which I have never had any luck growing in Maine. Every year it goes to seed early, and every year I just collect those seeds and I try again the next season. So you've probably heard of basil pesto, which is usually the kind of pesto that you can buy at the store. Pesto originates from Italy, but there are many ways to make pesto other than basil and pine nuts. A pesto can really be any combination of greens, nuts, garlic, cheese, and of course olive oil. So you can vary the types of pesto you make by region and by the availability of different ingredients. For example, in a cold climate without a greenhouse, I find it difficult and resource consuming to try and grow basil. So I just grow stinging nettle instead and make a nettle pesto, which honestly I like more. So a forager's pesto, as I like to call it, is all about taking advantage of what's abundant in your garden or what can be foraged. Or it can also be about using a little bit of everything that you don't have enough of. Maybe you don't have enough spinach to make a good frittata or enough nettle to make a pure batch of nettle pesto, but you've got a little bit of both. By adding a little bit of this and that, you can eventually make a meal. Kind of reminds me of stone soup. This forager's pesto is going to be made of a little bit of spinach, as it started to bolt, and some wild spinach, Chenopodium album, also known as goosefoot, and of course, some stinging nettle. So the stinging nettle in our garden is also past its prime. You want to harvest nettle for pesto when the leaves are young and the stems are still tender. Most of this nettle has gone to seed and has much tougher stems, and I've learned from experience that trying to turn those fibrous stems into a pesto can ruin it. So we'll have to work around those and harvest only what's still tender. We also have an abundance of Greek oregano, which grows extremely well in our climate, and I don't really know what to use pesto for other than pizza, which I don't make a lot of at home. Normally if we get pizza, we just go to the corner store. So the reason I started growing oregano is I wanted to have more culinary herbs in my garden, and this was one that does well in a cold climate. But it's also useful as an antibiotic and herbal medicine. It's a great ground cover and is wonderful for pollinators. All great reasons to keep it around in the garden, but I don't know, maybe you can help me come up with some recipes in the comments section so I can diversify my uses for it. Today we are going to try making an oregano pesto and see how that tastes. Pesto is such a great way to preserve fresh greens and capture the nutritional and medicinal benefits. What we do on our homestead is we make large batches of pesto and freeze the extra to enjoy later. So if you'd like to learn about the nutritional benefits of plants like wild spinach, which, believe it or not, has more than twice the amount of protein and other nutrients and minerals per gram compared to garden spinach, check out my video linked in the description. I also have videos dedicated to the nutritional and medicinal benefits of stinging nettle and its uses, and also how to make a nettle pesto. So my New England pesto, as I like to call it, typically uses the following ingredients: fresh or dried stinging nettle, hardneck garlic, pumpkin seeds, Parmesan cheese, and olive oil. This variation of pesto uses ingredients that I can grow in my garden, with the exception, of course, of Parmesan cheese and olive oil. We grow our own nettle and garlic, specifically hardneck because they perform better in cold climates over softneck, and pumpkin seeds because I do not have the ability to grow and produce a large amount of pine nuts. The trick to using pumpkin seeds is to grow a hulless variety of pumpkin. So we are trying a Kakai pumpkin, and quick disclaimer, I am still working on a successful Kakai pumpkin harvest, so I do occasionally need to buy pumpkin seeds from the store. Similarly, we ran out of hardneck garlic from last season, so this time I am using store-bought softneck garlic. Making pesto is incredibly simple. You are going to put your fresh greens, crushed garlic, pumpkin seeds, and olive oil into a food processor. A high-end food processor can turn this into a more creamy blend, but we are broke AF here and our inherited Vitamix died, so it's back to a cheap Walmart food processor. I actually don't mind. While I don't get the creamy blend that we used to make, it actually ends up having this wonderful kind of chunky texture that I think gives the pesto much more character. There are so many recipes for pesto out there that I'm not going to give you exact amounts for making your own batch, but generally you want to make sure that the mixture isn't too oily. I like mine to have a consistency similar to hummus. So you want to add the Parmesan last and mix by hand, as the heat from the blender can cause the cheese to melt and coagulate, and that will really ruin the texture of your pesto. So this first batch is our forager's pesto, made of stinging nettle, spinach, and wild spinach. And our second batch will be pure oregano pesto. Once finished, you can add to containers and freeze, and it will last up to a year. I am making as many batches as I can while spring is sprung, as nothing beats a fresh green tasting pesto in the middle of winter. So I realized after making this video that I completely forgot to mention the health benefits of pesto, and seeing as this is a food as medicine video, I should probably talk about that a little bit. So I'm not going to talk about the health benefits of the specific greens because I do have videos covering a lot of these plants in depth already, and because this is a forager's pesto, so it's really just going to depend on the types of plants that you use. But I do want to talk about some of the primary ingredients like the extra virgin olive oil, the raw garlic, and pumpkin seeds. So extra virgin olive oil is a really powerful anti-inflammatory. It's very high in antioxidants, specifically a chemical compound called oleocanthal, which can have similar effects as a mild dose of ibuprofen, which of course is a drug used for inflammation. It also contains polyphenols, which help to support good gut bacteria, so it's great for your gut. And just the lubricating effects of olive oil can also be really great for your digestive tract. And there are also studies that show that extra virgin olive oil can have positive impacts on brain health. Another thing to keep in mind, and this is one of the reasons that pesto is so great for your health, is that it uses unheated extra virgin olive oil. And this is really important if you are using olive oil to get the medicinal benefits. The oleocanthal actually breaks down once you start heating it at high temperatures. So if you're looking to get the health benefits of extra virgin olive oil, you really want to either cook with it on a very low heat, or if you can, use it more as a drizzle or an additive that you add after you've already cooked your meal. And of course, in our pesto, this is completely unheated, so you get all of the benefits, the anti-inflammatory and the antioxidant benefits of olive oil. And then there's raw garlic. So raw garlic contains a chemical called allicin, and this chemical is present in all allium family plants, so think your elephant garlic, onion, shallots, chives, things like that. And much like the medicinal benefits of oleocanthal in your extra virgin olive oil, allicin is really only effective when the garlic is eaten raw. And of course, we use raw garlic in our forager's pesto. So allicin is a sulfur compound, and I do have some notes on it because it's a little hard for me to remember all of the benefits. So it is a chemical that can help lower blood pressure. It can also help reduce blood clotting through its antiplatelet properties. There's tons of evidence that it helps to lower blood sugar, and it has immune boosting properties. So it contains natural antimicrobial and antiviral properties that can help reduce the duration of colds and flu. So this, there's actually a very popular remedy that was made famous by the herbalist Rosemary Gladstar called fire cider, and this uses raw garlic specifically for this purpose. And finally, raw garlic also supports gut health as a prebiotic. A couple things to note about raw garlic specifically: if you consume large amounts of this, it can cause a stomach ache or even heartburn, and I've experienced this by eating too much pesto. It also has mild blood thinning properties, so if you are on any blood thinners or have any blood conditions complications, it's definitely best to meet with your doctor before eating large amounts of pesto with raw garlic in it. Okay, and finally, pumpkin seeds. So pumpkin seeds are particularly good for men's health as it supports the prostate. They are also high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are great for your brain's health. They are also a great anti-inflammatory, just like your olive oil and your garlic, specifically because of high concentrations of vitamin E, which you might have heard of as being used in the skincare industry as a preservative. All right, so we are gonna try out this Greek oregano pesto. And I have some entertainment, they're called entertainment crackers. These are just wheat crackers. And this is my favorite way to have pesto. I do sometimes use it to make different kinds of noodles and stir fries, but my favorite way just to have it is just to put it on a cracker. So we're gonna give this a shot. And I did add some lemon juice to this because I did try a little bit of it, and it's much more green and bitter than the nettle pesto. I might also add a tiny bit of salt. I don't find that nettle pesto needs that. If you're trying this with less palatable forage greens, I think that's probably a good way to go, is just to add a little bit more flavor into it. Like I said, you can use anything to make pesto. It just might take a little bit more to make it a good flavor for eating. All right, let's give this a shot. You know, honestly, once you add the lemon juice to it, it's pretty close to nettle pesto. It's a little bit more bitter, but it's really not that noticeable. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has inspired you to get creative with your forages and try something new. As always, don't forget to like this video to show your support, and I will see you very soon. Bye.